There is a moment in every life when you decide to rise, to stand taller than your fear, to speak louder than your doubt, to chase the vision that sets your soul on fire. This is that moment. And here, we walk it together with stories that awaken, voices that inspire, and truths that set you free. This is Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald, where hope has a voice, and that voice is yours. And welcome to the show, everybody. Today, we've got a show that's going to set you free. Well, maybe. That's up to you. But, Rochelle, how are you today?
I'm doing amazing. I'm finally waking up. We all have those days. We just need a little extra sleep. But this keeps me going and up pumps my energy, and so does our next guest. So, would you like to introduce him?
No, by all means, you do the honors.
Okay, well, I'd love to. We have Dr. Adam Schilling here with us today. He's got some websites that we're going to share as we go through the show. And like Kevin said, you know, you can be set free, but that is up to you. So welcome, Dr. Adam. How are you today?
I'm fantastic. Thank you.
It's great to have you here. You are a relationship coach and an addiction coach, and you help sometimes, and tell me if I've got this right, sometimes having a relationship can be an addiction.
Sure. Yeah, we could call that love addiction. We can call that forms of sex addiction. Absolutely. Sure.
Yeah.
So tell us about your practice and what you do so that you help people learn to live their best life.
Yes, I do. I'm very passionate about that. So for the past 7 years, I've been in private practice as a positive psychology and relationship coach. Before that, I worked for 6 years, about 6 years at a sex addiction treatment center where I was primarily a recovery coach, but also a positive psychology coach. And before that, for almost a decade, I was an elementary school teacher in South Central LA. So yeah, teaching and learning has always been a part of my professional career.
So you were a sex addiction specialist. Now that seems like a conflict in terms, doesn't it? A recovery of sex. I thought that if you're a typical guy, that seems to be like feed me and cuddle with me, and then everything else will just kind of work itself out.
Oh no, it's an addiction just like the rest. It's a behavior that can become extremely maladaptive and cause incredible consequences. Negative consequences.
Oh goodness!
Oh yeah.
I had no idea that sex could be not that I would know. By the way, says it's been in the fog of my distant memory. I remember such things, but
well, and it's a whole new world now, Dr. Adam, right? Because for Kevin, it was he didn't have the same technology and all the tools and all the things to create certain addictions and certain relationships. Is that kind of what got you into this?
Well, that's not what got me into it, but that's definitely what's gasoline on the fire of sex addiction for sure. The internet, dating apps, sex apps, all that stuff is incredibly addictive, and it's at our fingertips, and it's free. And it's available to everyone, and that's not a good thing.
Well, you know, Dr. Adam, and I'm a little older. Berchelle's quite a bit younger. And see, when I was growing up, we all had our set of rules. My job as a young man was to pursue the young women, and their job was to say no. Things have changed, haven't they?
Thankfully, again, it was a lot more human beings, a lot more agency in their lives, namely women.
Yeah.
That's a good.
I'll tell you, if you come to a woman and we can see that you have that one thought in mind, and you may think you're so smart, you just got it all little pinpoints. We see straight through you, and yeah, maybe some people like that, some women do, but that's not healthy for them as well. And then there's the other side of us who might knock you out. So I mean, for men, specifically for people, it can be confusing, right?
In the dating world?
just in general of relationships and being able to accept somebody for who they are and also be willing to learn some of these things. And then, like, let's say somebody comes into a relationship with already having the sex addiction. That's got to be like the most detrimental thing to both people, right?
Well, it's a very difficult thing to manage. Okay, so if someone's bringing a sex addiction into a relationship, there are different ways to come about that. If they don't know that they're bringing that into the relationship, versus if they do, it's a very different outlook. And most, if not all of the time, if someone's bringing that kind of behavior adaptation into a relationship, they've got trauma and unrealized and unexpressed emotions that they're hauling around from the past, that they're using that sex addiction or any other addiction to compensate for and to soothe. So that stuff they're also bringing into the relationship that people really need to be more honest with themselves about, and to be able to have some boundaries too. You know what? There are some things that I have not dealt with. I realize that I'm engaging in a relationship with you, and I also realize that there are some things that I have not dealt with. So I can either go deal with them or I can share them with you, and we can try to understand together. But it's really complicated and really difficult because someone's sexuality it's an energy. It's not like it's not a behavior or a substance addiction where you can try to distance yourself from a bottle or powder or needles or whatever. This is it's a part of us. And so it's a part that needs to learn how to be vulnerable, a part that needs to learn how to trust, a part that needs to learn how to communicate and express and be intimate. And if those things can be incorporated into someone's sexuality, then that sexual addiction can be transformed into something quite beautiful, actually. It's not an end-all be-all. It's not a death sentence, and it doesn't have to be some boogeyman in the relationship. It needs to be addressed for sure, but it doesn't need to be some dark and evil thing in the relationship. It could be.
Yeah. Well, it'd be kind of like, I don't know if you've ever had this experience, doctor, but I'm willing to bet that Rochelle has had this experience where when she's talking with a gentleman and she says, "Oh, by the way, my eyes are up here," because he's not necessarily looking at
I do it a little differently, Kevin. Wherever their eyes are is where I'll put my eyes. If I catch, it's funny too because people are like that, right? So there's got to be with any sort of addiction, there's the form of seeing it, how we talked about before the show. If let's say that your addiction is to go soothe with a bottle, or the bar or getting a beer, and Kevin brought up the idea of just what did you say, Dr. Adam? Just observing it and seeing it there. We can do that with, money can be an addiction, chocolate, coffee, all these things. How powerful is it for somebody to sit back and just observe something for what it is rather than what they feel it bring them?
Absolutely. And that's actually an evolution in someone's level of self-awareness too. If you're able to recognize those parts of you without being those parts of you. So you are the observer of these parts, these emotions and these impulses within you without giving into them. That's a very powerful step in someone's level of self-awareness.
Yeah, for sure.
And Dr. Adam, I have to tell you that we have a gentleman who has commented in, and I think that we are becoming an addiction of his, and I don't know that to be exactly true, but Samuel
is a healthy addiction,
and it is a healthy addiction. Go ahead, Rochelle.
Samuel says, "Greetings, my good brother Kevin McDonald and my sister Rochelle and guest Dr. Adam Schilling. Receive greetings from Kiberia slums in Nairobi, Kenya. We are watching and listening live TV, our favorite program, Positive Talk Radio, with my team. Keep it up." And just so you know, Dr. Adam, oh my goodness, it's about somewhere around 2 a.m. or 1 o'clock their time here, and he joins in with his team. He feeds 350 children throughout the week now, and also provides a education system and is helping pass this message on further than we could possibly imagine. So it's knowledge, right? It doesn't matter who you are or where you're at in the world. We all deserve the chance to get to learn how what we're doing may be hurting us and how there's a better way of doing so.
Couldn't agree more. Yes. Yeah, that's awesome. I'm honored.
Well, and I would love to put out there, in case somebody would like to participate, because Samuel, he works in Kenya with these kids, 350 kids, and they come every Saturday, and they have whatever they have around them that they can put food into. And it may be an old Tupperware thing, or it may be a paper plate, or whatever it is. And if you would love to contribute to helping what he is doing with the kids in Kenya, you can email me or Bershell, Kevin or Bershell at kmmedia.pro, and we will help you get the funds to them, so that my goal is to get them 500 bowls that are nice, that they can utilize, and the kids, that would be some of the kids that would be their prized possession, because they don't have a lot in Kenya. And I want to thank him for feeding kids so that they don't go hungry on a Saturday and go to bed on Saturday night and be hungry. So if you have it in your heart to do that, Kevin at kmmedia.pro or Bershell at kmmedia.pro. I'm sorry, Dr. Adam, but I just needed to get that in.
Go for it.
And we're talking with Dr. Adam Schilling, and he is a relationship coach, and he's also an addiction specialist, and he's got a unique take on addiction. Tell us about your unique take on addiction, that it's not necessarily a horrible thing. It's part of the human condition.
Well, I'll tell you a little bit about where it came from also. So as I mentioned, I worked in a sex addiction treatment center for about 6 years. And in that treatment center, I was working in our intensive outpatient program, where people were coming in some of the worst moments of their lives. So clients had just experienced some kind of discovery of their acting out behavior, their sexual acting out behavior. So their partners had discovered often that there had been adultery, cheating, all kinds of traumatic events, drug abuse, all kinds of stuff. So people were coming in chaos, in just some of the worst times of their lives. It was easy, or some of the messaging at the time, it was easy to, as our brains like to do, put things into labels of, oh, this must be this person did a lot of bad things. Look at how horribly they've affected their partners, their families. This must be, just a bad person. This person must be defective. They've got this addiction or addictions. They must be defective to their core. They're going to need to work on this forever. This is a disease that they have that developed over time. This is a real issue, but we'll do the best we can. And after a few years of working, so in this intensive outpatient program, I was seeing these clients often up to 20 hours a week. These people, mostly men, these guys were working very, very hard. They were full of shame. They were full of self-hatred. They were not taking this lightly. And what I saw quickly with spending so much time with these people, these guys, was that although they had done horrible things, these were not horrible people at all. These were people who cared deeply about the pain that they had caused and were beside themselves with the level of sabotage they created for themselves and their families. They were full of shame. What I learned over those years was that we can either learn who we want to be by knowing, by light, or through shadow, by knowing who we don't want to be. So I know that I want to be like that because that life looks good. That person is a role model, and I want to be like her. Or we can go the other way, which is more difficult. I want to be better because I know I don't want to be like that. Mm-hmm. Both ways can get there. This way's harder. Okay, so there is light and dark on this planet. Addiction is a form of darkness. It's a dark expression of our values. It's a dark expression of parts of us. There are greedy parts and selfish parts and shameful parts and self-hating parts. But that is the opposite. So if these negative parts exist, then these good parts must also exist, because we wouldn't know that we felt bad if in that moment we also weren't feeling good. Right? So what I started to develop was a concept of how to use the opposite of addiction, which is, I call advocate, be your advocate, it's the name of my books, advocacy. So in that whole process, I was seeing how people were coming home to the goodness that was inside of them, because the goodness is the part that was bringing them to treatment, was the part that was, even after their programs had ended, after a few months, they were coming back. I've seen people for over 10 years still, because they want to keep doing better. That's how awesome these people are. They're awesome. They want to feel better, and they want to keep thinking better, and they want to, I have this conversation I'm about to have with the boss or my wife, and I just want to make sure that this goes okay. Let's figure this out. That to me, someone who's coming in for that kind of treatment, whether it's coaching or therapy or whatever, that's not someone who has a problem with them. That's not someone who's defective. That is someone who wants to be better. That's a beautiful person. We should all be wanting to strive to be better. So addiction. So we human beings love repetition, or most of us do, because it saves time and energy, and our brains love to save time and energy. So we often do things the exact same day after day, year after year. But what that also can apply to is how we feel and how we think. And if we were 5 years old and we were bullied, for example, and we had a feeling of feeling less than or minimized or shamed, that ability to rehearse and to save time and energy also applies to the way that we feel about ourselves. So we can then take that emotion from 5 years old or 10 or whatever and haul that through time, that I am less than, there's something wrong with me, is one of the worst thoughts that is pretty much the basis of all of this stuff, which is not true. And so we've got this core that develops that thinks that there's something wrong with me because of these things that happened where I felt minimized or neglected or less than. And that might have been from a bully or from an older sibling or family systems or whatever, or something utterly abusive. And so that emotion gets rehearsed, and we think that it's us because as little kids, we don't know how to differentiate between that feeling that there's something happened and something went wrong, and that feeling not being that there's something wrong with me. That is not accurate.
Doctor, we need to take this break because, and that's a great place to leave it, because you're right. That is not accurate. And when we come back, I want to talk to you about how we can take that inaccuracy that we keep telling ourselves, the stories we keep telling ourselves, and turn them from a negative to a positive. Is that okay to say, Rochelle?
100%. Don't stop this conversation. Let's get this break on with.
Very good. And we'll be right back with Dr. Adam Schilling. Here's another point to ponder by Positive Talk Radio. One man lost everything he thought to find him: his job, his marriage, even his confidence. At rock bottom, he realized the one thing no one could ever take was his will to rise again. Sometimes life has to break us open so we can discover the strength we never knew was inside. Remember, your lowest point is not the end. It can become the very foundation of your greatest comeback. And you are listening to Positive Talk Radio, where stories of hope come alive. And welcome back to Positive Talk. My name is Kevin McDonald, and Rochelle is right there, and Dr. Adam Schilling is right there. And if we wanted to go to his website or websites, Rochelle, where would we go?
Yes. Well, I believe if you go to adamsschilling.org and you find move forward. That's the first thing it says. I don't think there's anything better that you could feel from going to a website and wanting to be better yourself. You also have beyouradvocate.org, which is huge. We want to talk about that as well. And from addiction to advocate.org. And I, the power of just that is huge. So go and visit those websites, go and get your information, and stay tuned in this conversation. The way that we left that off was I thought about how many people will hear just that first 15 minutes and think to themselves, wait, there's not something wrong with me. I'm human and this is okay. And when you said those people that come to you are the most powerful because they have the courage. And I've been a person who's been affected by these people, and I love them and I understand them, and I don't hold it against them because I know that it doesn't have to do with me and I don't have to make it about me.
Right.
So that's just absolutely beautiful. And please do share, as Kevin said, to what is it like to realize that for these people, and how does it change them?
It changes them at their core because they can see that they are not the stories that they tell themselves.
Mhm.
Nobody is their behavior. That's just not who we are. And if clients, so when working with a client, what we're doing is we're having a conversation, but the things that they're talking about, the behaviors that they've done, are not happening in that current moment, which means that anything that we're talking about is a memory. And so when they're describing things that they've done and saying how awful they are because of what they've done, the more that I can get them to see, but wait a minute, that's not happening. That is a projection in your mind of something you did, and the feelings that you're having about that thing, which does not exist anymore, is what we're actually talking about. The more we can get to that self-awareness, you can see people like, whoa, okay, then who am I? And that's a whole other conversation. But underneath all of that, the goal is to continue to get people to see that the reason that they fret so much, the reason that they use substances and behavior so much are all forms of self-protection. And if all of those things are forms of self-protection, that must mean that there is something beautiful down inside. That is their actual core being. Light and love and beauty. Otherwise, we wouldn't spend so much time trying to protect it. It's very sensitive and vulnerable in there. We're not taught that. We are taught to be tough, or we're taught to, just stick up for yourself, or what, yeah, which is great, fine. You need to defend yourself, awesome. But also realize that the reason you need to do that is because there's a really juicy center that's in all of us, except for a very small percentage of the population, but that's a whole separate issue also.
And Dr. Adam, I just got to ask you, because of that squishy interior that we have, we spend a great deal of time trying to protect it because it's been abused. It's been hurt when you were bullied as a kid, when you were told you were less than. And so you protect yourself by putting up this facade of who you project that you think others want you to be. And so that's what you do. And sometimes it doesn't work out very well.
Which is still your idea of what you think others want you to be.
Mhm.
It's insidious, isn't it?
It's all coming from inside the building. Yeah.
But what is it like for these people that work with you, not only to give themselves forgiveness, which I hate to, it feels so much better in such a different way when you get to forgive yourself, but also to realize that that isn't tied to you, right? Like that's it. You don't have to be in fight or flight, and you don't have to be fearful. So there's a lot that comes into play with that, isn't there?
Yeah. Yes. It's just complicated because we are an inherently fearful, skittish species. Our ancestors needed to feel a lot of fear in order to escape all the dangers that were presented to them at the time. We would not be here without those evolutionary traits. So we're all still looking around for that danger that's around the corner, or the relationship that might be damaged, or whatever threat is coming our way. But now what that has turned into is, since we now have the ability to think and think abstractly, and to think that our thoughts are accurate when they're not often, but we buy into them, we create all kinds of illusions in our minds of what threat could be, when in fact most of that stuff doesn't exist. What does that person think about me, or that person hates me? None of us know that's true. It's all happening inside of our own minds. And so we're creating, most of us, huge levels of anxiety or depression based on inaccurate thinking about potential threat that isn't there. But since we're hardwired for that, we can't stop that seeking to try to identify something to fret about. It's very difficult to settle that down. That takes a lot of practice, because we are hardwired to find what it is that I need to worry about. I don't have to have the money in the bank. What do I look like? I'm going to be alone forever. I'm too this, I'm too that. None of it's real only in the fact that we are thinking those things. But the fear that's coming from thinking those things is completely self-generated, completely. And I have a theory on what it'll drive people to do all kinds of horrible things, horrible things, kill themselves, horrible things. Yeah.
It's I gotta ask you, because you've been around, and you're a relationship coach, and you're a sex addiction coach. I wanted to know, because, and I'd love your feeling on this, because why would someone decide that they were going to have an extramarital relation with someone else, and they knew the third party, or were friends with the third party, as an example, like the husband and another guy that you've known for a long time decides that he's going to have a relationship with the other guy's wife? Is that an addiction, or is that a dysfunction of major proportions? I don't know.
That story is missing a lot of information.
Well, what would you like to know? I know the guy.
That could be, I mean, there's a scale of malice there. So if it's more intentional, there's more maliciousness there. Is it more about the progression of an addiction? So the person is seeking more intensity, and so they're trying to find someone who's more dangerous to interact with. I mean, that story needs exploration.
So you're telling me that this person that I'm talking about needs to be in therapy, that maybe
everybody could use that.
I mean, if that person would like to understand deeper levels of how they choose to think, feel, and behave, then sure. But if they don't, and if they're not interested, then it's not going to do anything anyway.
No, that is so true. But that kind of thing and that kind of behavior can have ripple effects. It affects many people, and including the children that were in that and then the lies, and the lies that people tell. And do they actually believe them? Or are they telling them because they're so ashamed of what they did that they want to hide from that and not get called out on it?
That depends on the person's level of self-awareness. If they, you know what, I know I have a level of understanding that what I'm doing is bad and I can't stop it or don't want to stop it. So I'm going to intentionally tell a lie, versus I'm so checked out from who I am and why I'm doing the things that I do and my impulses and desires that I'll say whatever it is, because I'm that detached from reality. So either.
And and the sad thing is that when those sorts of things happen and we're not very self-reflective of those things, then they tend to fester and they manifest themselves in all kinds of ways in somebody's life if you don't turn around and deal with the whole thing.
Oh yeah, and it's incredibly destructive to a family system. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, even the people around, for the people who care, they're like, "Don't you see this dysfunction?" But they won't listen to us. Um, I grew up in knowing all about that.
Oh
And I
yeah.
know we need to take our halftime break, but when we come back, Dr. Adam, I'd like to ask you this one question. It came to me when you were first speaking in the beginning. I've heard every single person almost that's been in my life going through addiction that says, well, it's hard to stop because addiction leads to more addiction. And I'd like your perspective on that.
Okay.
That's addiction needs to, well, we need to take a break, but have you ever been to an AA meeting and they're taking a break and everybody's outside with a cup of coffee and a cigarette?
Yeah.
That's because
Or inside showing up because they got drunk enough to do so.
well, and we're not making light of it, but it is an interesting human behavior
Reality.
of addiction transference from one thing to another, or the guy that was fat and he was eating a lot of Oreos and now he's working out like a madman and stuff, which can also be an addiction as well. We'll be right back after this. More with Dr. Adam Schilling. This is fun. I'm having a great time talking about my family situation and stuff like that. So we'll be right back.
You're listening to Brushwood Media Network, the best in syndicated talk, news, and entertainment shows.
Are you looking for your daily dose of inspiration? Stay connected to all your favorite shows, music, and news with the Brushwood Media Network app. From Positive Talk Radio to Greatest Vibes Unplugged and so many more uplifting voices around the world, everything you need is right in one place. It's easy to use, too. Always available and designed to keep you inspired 24 hours a day. Go to brushwoodmedianetwork.com and download the app, and you will always have Brushwood Media available on your smartphone. Download it now and make inspiration and music and conversation part of your everyday. And welcome back to Positive Talk with Burchelle. She's right over there. And my name is Kevin McDonald. And Dr. Adam Schilling is our guest. And I'm having a wonderful time talking with you, Doctor, because, we all have addictions. And Burchelle, continue with your train of thought that you went into the break with.
Yeah. And thank you for opening up with that, Kevin, because it's making me realize that as we have these conversations day in and day out, as I've been with Kevin, we're all people. We're human. Like, there's so much that we put on ourselves for one choice, one decision, one action, and words that get to all of a sudden incorporate our identity. And I don't think that's very fair to us. And keeping that in mind, as I said before, I grew up in an addiction facility with my mom in a drug and alcohol rehab. And we were there for a long time because they used to last a long time. And there was so many people that I was around that didn't work through those things. And they said, well, it's because my addiction, in the sense, they won't say that, right? But their addiction caused more addiction in some sense. But also how Kevin mentioned, maybe it's going from one to the other. Is that true? Is that common? Is there a different way that we can look at this if we're taking a look at ourselves and what we have to work on?
Well, that can absolutely be true. In fact, it's common for once sex addiction gets cleared up that a food addiction, a lurking underlying food addiction presents itself. So, because those are both process addictions and they're ways that we interact with our bodies. So those are very common. But if addictions are a matter of soothing and coping of these unresolved, unrealized, painful and traumatic emotions that are going on inside of us, if those things are not addressed, then if you squash one addiction, then your brain is still going to want to try to find something to soothe that discomfort that's going on in there. So But it doesn't have to be true if, once you squash the addictive behavior, you actually do the work to quiet the body down and to understand what parts of us are getting activated and what emotions and traumas need to be resolved. But when you do that work, then you don't have to just jump from addiction to addiction. You don't have to.
Yeah. Do you use different methods and different skills depending on the person to help them not make that jump and actually do the work? Because that's got to be like incredibly hard for them.
Yeah, sometimes there's more mindfulness skills that get incorporated, sometimes more cognitive behavioral therapy skills, CBT skills, sometimes more just life management skills. Because, sometimes people just need to sit and not do something for a few minutes because they'll just be fidgeting, or their bodies are so unregulated. They just have to be doing something. So teaching, there's definitely an assessment that goes on at the beginning, but sometimes people who have done a lot of therapy or coaching or work already come in with a bunch of tools. And so then it's like, wow, okay, we're hitting the ground running here. Because sometimes people come in and go, okay, all this stuff that I dealt with 10 years ago, it's back. So, okay, great. What was working 10 years ago? What stopped working? What have you not been doing? Da, 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 da. So, yeah, it just depends on where the person's at.
And each person is different, aren't they?
Yeah, but there are similarities, kind of clusters. But yes, everybody's different.
And when you talk about, well, first of all, I want to mention this because you are in Long Beach in Southern California, and if somebody wants to reach you, first of all, you have a book that we want to talk about, and you've got several programs that we want to talk about.
I do.
So go for it, Dr. Adam.
Which part? The book?
Yes.
However, all of it. Yes.
So as I was describing earlier of working with clients in that treatment center, I noticed a huge need in the addiction treatment community, specifically the sex addiction treatment community, but addiction treatment community in general, which is that there's still so much messaging out there that you are defective and you have a disease that's going to be with you for the rest of your life. That messaging, and I'm not trying to belittle 12-step programs. 12-step is great. I'm not saying that. However, there are ways that messaging can land with someone that is very disempowering, meaning there's something wrong with you. I would say most, if not everybody, all of my clients already think there's something wrong with them. That's why they've done all the things that they've done. To continue to believe in programs that potentially, or messaging for programs that potentially reinforce that, is a disempowering way to go about life and moving through addiction. I'm hesitating because, again, I'm not saying disparaging things about 12-step. I'm honestly not. However, there is still there's a huge need to let people know that they can use the worst things that they've been through and that includes the trauma that they've been through, to become wiser, kinder, stronger, beautiful versions of themselves. And that is what this guy is all about. So this is Be Your Advocate. Be Your Advocate was also written because I quickly came to see in our treatment center that our clients had means. They could afford intensive outpatient programs, which were very expensive. They could afford therapy. They could afford coaching. They could afford groups. They could afford workshops. That's not most people. Many people don't have access to mental health. They can't afford it. They're too shameful. They're too traumatized. They don't trust people to be that intimate. So I wrote this to let people know that this is pretty much everything that I teach clients. So this book, the intention of this book, or more of the intention of this book, is to teach people that they are not the worst things that they've been through. A huge part of this book, too, is the process of uncovery versus recovery, because uncovery is about using addiction to uncover more of who we can be versus the concept of recovery, which is recovering who we were. Nobody wants that version. And I get that the term is just an outdated term, nothing disparaging about the 12-step community. But can we think about this in a more forward, positive psychology way? The answer is yes. And everybody that I work with is like, Yeah, teach me those things. So in this book, we have the concept of better: behaviors, emotions, thoughts, reality. I teach people how to use values to guide their behavior. I teach people how to understand what their emotions actually are, their guideposts. Thoughts, so I'm going to get to that right now, and reality, how to use positive psychology skills to construct a bountiful, abundant reality because of the worst things that we've been through. Now, a huge part of this book, which also is where a couple of my eBooks came from, is the concept of the GNAT. So that stands for GNAT, Grand Narrator Around Thought. That is the voice that's buzzing around in our heads. That thing is a sense that is designed, like our other 5 external senses, to detect threat and to keep us safe. It also entertains us by singing songs and distracts us by watching, Real Housewives and social media and all that stuff. It likes that stuff. It likes to entertain us, and it's also telling us stories, and it often tells the same stories over and over and over again. Because, as I mentioned a while ago, our brains and our bodies like repetition. Saves time and energy. But when we have stories that we're hauling from the past, that I'm not good enough or there's something wrong with me, that is not a productive way to use that sense, and it's very scary. So the GNAT, what I teach in the 2 ebooks on beyyouradvocate.org, that you can, if you put your email address into beyyouradvocate.org, you get a free GNAT ebook. I will teach you ways to use a 2-step process to thank the voice and then to reassure it, because it's trying to help, as negative as it may be. And this is a massive skill, a huge skill that I teach to all of my clients at some point. How is that voice trying to help you, and how can you reassure it? Because when you go through that process, that flexes the muscle of depersonalizing from the voice, and you're able to actually use it and steer it in much more productive ways, which it will do. It needs to just be tamed, often aggressively. So at the end of this book, there are 3 parts of the book. In the end of it, it's essentially how to water your garden, because it's difficult to know when you've got enough mental health on board, I guess is a kind of a weird way to say that. But like, how do I know that I'm getting better? I've had a lot of clients ask me, like, am I getting better? And so in a parallel universe, would you have said or done the thing that you said or did? Probably not. I probably would have held back, or I probably would have took that person or whatever. So, okay. But it's virtually impossible to know what moving forward looks like and what mental health looks like. So that's what the end of the book is designed to do. Here's how you know that it's working, essentially. But I was very committed when writing this book to create something that is for everybody, because like I was saying, so many people are deprived of positive mental health skills, and we should all be taught these things from kindergarten on. I am a firm believer in that. What are our feelings? What is the voice in our head? How are we making up stories? Did Kevin say that to you, or did you think that? No. Oh, wait, I thought that. Kevin didn't actually say that to me. Okay, well, you just picked a fight because you thought that he said that, but he actually didn't. You told yourself he said that. Yeah. Oh, we don't talk to kids like that. And I, as an elementary school teacher, I know that. Kids need this. So obviously this is written for adults, but those are my intentions behind writing this book.
And there should be a children's book that follows up with it.
There is.
See? It's my intuitive self coming to the fore.
And what is that book?
So that book is called Gus and the Chatterbug. It's written, so we're in the process of illustrating it. My 9-year-old niece is doing most of the illustrations.
Oh, so, cool.
Yeah, I love this process. So Gus he's 8, 9, or 10. He's 3rd or 4th grade. And what Gus realizes is that he's freaked out about this upcoming test. He can't focus. He notices that there's just something going on in his mind, but he can't quite figure out what's going on. And so he's outside because he has mindfulness skills already on board. He loves listening to birds, and loves having his fingers in grass. So he's sitting under his favorite oak tree, and bing, this bug pops up in front of him, and it's his Chatterbug. The Chatterbug tells him, "I am the voice in your head." And so the Chatterbug tells him that he is a very special kid, and just like all of the children, he has the ability to pay attention to that voice because it is trying to help, as negative as it may be at times. So Gus then goes through a little conflict with his friend Maya, or not with her, but about playing with her, realizes that he can take control, and then feels much more empowered, and that's the end of that story. The following books are going to be on Gus's journeys through teaching his friends these skills, and then eventually, I think, teaching his classroom and then the school. So that's where we're at with that. Because I know that these voices begin right around where Gus is, right, the age that Gus is at. So if we can teach kids more skills about how to deal with that stuff, then we will change the planet.
I couldn't agree more. And you know,
for the people in the back.
and Dr. Adam Schilling is our guest. And when we come back from this break, which I want to talk a little bit about integrity during the break. But when we come back, Doctor, I would love to talk to you about changing your mindset. Is it possible to start to believe and understand that all of your, stop me if you've heard this before, Michelle, all of the experiences in your life are happening for you, not to you. And you are the author of everything, both good and bad, it's in quotes, both good and bad that have happened in your life. You're the author of all of it, and you can change it whenever you choose. I want to get your opinion about that when we come back, because I talked to Michelle about that ad nauseum, and she's going to yell at me in a minute, I'm sure. So.
That's okay.
We'll be right back. Here's another point to ponder from Positive Talk Radio. What is the easiest thing to justify? It is a small transgression. The one no one will ever see, no one will ever know. The tiny exaggeration on the expense report, the extra minute you took on your lunch break, the packaging you tossed in the wrong recycle bin because it was closer. In those moments, the question isn't, will I get caught? The question is, will I know? It isn't about avoiding punishment. It's a silent agreement you make with yourself when you choose to do the right thing, to return the wallet, to fix the mistake, to respect the empty space. You aren't impressing the world. You're earning your own respect. That small choice, made entirely in private, is how you build a life you never have to look away from. The only audience that matters is you. And welcome back to Positive Talk. My name is Kevin McDonald. Rochelle's right there. Dr. Adam Schilling is right there. And Dr. Adam, I've got to ask you, because this has kind of become a foundation for me. I recognize that I ain't perfect. Never have been, probably never will be, because there's only one guy that I know of that ever, and he was more alive 2,000 years ago. But so none of us is perfect. But do you believe, or is it possible to believe, that you are the total experience of everything that you've been through, and that therefore you can then learn from that to become and to create something different for yourself, something better, something that you can align with for other people? Is that possible?
It's absolutely. I mean, I think it's pinnacle. Yeah, who we are. We define who we are. And we get to decide how we see what we've been through and what we've done. And at any point, we can choose to see things through more optimistic lenses. At any point. At any point, we can forgive. At any point, we can accept. At any point, we can just let go of judgments or perfection or whatever. And each time we do that, we move towards being more kinder, wiser, stronger versions of ourselves. Absolutely.
Based off that, Kevin, I'd love to ask him, because is it harder for people to realize they have the power to do that, or to actually do it?
Ooh, good question.
I don't know the answer to that, but what I will say, because it depends on the person, it's scary to step into our greatness.
Yeah.
It's very vulnerable. It's scary because we might be judged, we might be criticized, and as scared creatures, that could mean ostracized or abandoned, and that is one of our primary fears. So, if I step into how great I am, and you think I'm terrible, well, I've got to be able to tolerate that. But if I'm truly in that greatness, and I really, really believe it, and I'm really shining, it's not going to matter. And I will be attracting other people who are resonating from that place. And in that place, there's no need for judgment, because people who are at that in that space, they want more of that from you too. So, but it is. I mean, I actually have that conversation a lot with people. Like, once they realize that they are beautiful and wonderful at their core, okay, well then what can you do to express more of that? Oh, well, I couldn't possibly, quit my job or whatever. Okay. Yes, you can. Come on. Or I couldn't possibly get on the dating apps again. No way. I know they're evil, but yes, you can. Come, put yourself out there. Just let yourself shine. So it's both. I don't know which one would be harder, but it's both.
Perfect. There's no better answer.
It's Dr. Adam, it's pretty remarkable how complex we are, but at the same time how simple we can be. Because a lot of us are, I've told this story on the show before. My mother-in-law was adopted. And so therefore she developed an entire philosophy based upon the fact that she was adopted. So, i.e., nobody loves me, i.e., nobody cares. If they're nice to me, they're doing it because they have to, not because they love me. And she spent 86 years believing that till the day she died. I consider that a waste of life.
I wouldn't consider it a waste of life. I would consider it a rehearsed sorrow based on misassumptions about why she was here on this planet.
And I love how you say that, because when she moved on and was on the other side, she looked back and said, wait, that could have all been different. And I love that you're here, because people don't have to get until 82 to realize, hey, wait, I get to decide who I am. I get to find that person. I deserve the things in the world that people don't see of myself. And that kind of came in when I joined with Kevin. Is like, oh, there's so many fears that come to the table of just being yourself. And I loved how you mentioned that if you develop this sense of I know, so it's not maybe, or it's not can I, or it's will there be this version. It is I am. And when you walk through life with that, things affect you not so much. Right. And then what you bring towards you is like what you start attracting proves to yourself that you're right and it's possible.
So reality will show up to reinforce what you're thinking and feeling about yourself. Yes. Positively and negatively. Yes.
Right.
Yeah. Well, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
That doesn't mean that bad things won't happen. But if you are operating from that place, you will be able to be more resilient and be more resourceful in the presence of those negative things. So, yeah, and positive psychology is not about some Pollyanna approach to life. It's about thinking and feeling in ways that you just described, embracing and savoring when reality shows up to meet you in those ways, and having fun with all of it. We're here to have fun, as difficult as it may be at times, as traumatic as it may be at times. If we use what we've been through to become wiser, kinder, stronger versions of ourselves, as painful as that may be, and some people might hate hearing this, that, when you practice enough, can become a fun process. It can. Because we take our minds so seriously.
This is, without a doubt, our lives that we have here. the most magical experience imaginable.
Yes.
And even when things don't go exactly according to plan, when you fall and you tear your rotator cuff and have to have surgery, well, there's good that can come from that.
When you find out your husband's been cheating on you and is a different person for 25 years, you can find a way through that. When there's just horrible stuff that happens, not just falling down and hurting your knee.
Yeah, I see that as a death sentence. And maybe that proves that I have some work to do in myself. But it's beautiful how you describe that.
So first of all, Dr. Adam Schilling, and we're going to go over your information again because you're going to have to come back to the show. And because we got more stuff to talk about. I want to talk about positive psychology and everything that it can do, because one of the things that I say to people is your life is empty and meaningless, and everybody takes that as a negative, and they look at it and they go, what the hell do you mean my life is empty? What do you mean it's meaningless? I have meaning, I've got worth. Well, what I mean by that. Exactly. But what I mean by that is your life is empty until you and nobody else decides what you're going to fill it up with. And it's meaningless until you and nobody else assigns meaning to it. Is that a good philosophy to have?
Absolutely. Yeah, get after it. We only got one shot.
Yeah. Well, good, because Kevin told me that and it's working.
Every day you get up, you get to decide whether or not you're going to have a great day or a bad day. And sometimes when you wake up and you decide it's going to be a crappy day, guess what? It's a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Which can be changed at the drop of a hat.
It's amazing.
And that's what we got to talk about. Damn it. Why do we have to run out of time?
So, Dr. Adam, if somebody wants to get a hold of you, how do they do it? And Michelle's gonna take us out of the show from there.
Sure. So you can go to my website, adamschilling.org, if you'd like to send an email, if you'd like to touch base. You can also go to beyouradvocate.org. Again, like I was mentioning before, you can put your email address in there to become a part of an email list. I send out positive psychology messaging every Monday morning. You also get a free version of the GNAT, which you can also get the GNAT 2. You can pick up my book there if you like. And also, for clinicians, we didn't talk about, I guess we did a little bit. From Addict to Advocate is a course that I put together to teach the skills in Be Your Advocate to clinicians to help their clients. Although, if you are someone who's trying to understand addiction on your own, you can also take the course yourself and just not use the course of completion. There are 14 continuing education credits available through National Board for Certified Counselors through that course. And stay tuned for Gus and the Chatterbug, because he should be coming out in the next few months.
You're going to have to come back and we'll talk about that. Michelle, go ahead.
Yes. Well, I want to let you, Dr. Adam, have the last voice of where we're going to leave the show and any message that you would like to share with our audience. But before that, I have to tell you, it's been a true honor to have you on our show, to share this message, to help people realize whoever and wherever you're at right now in your life, you're worth so much more than you realize. And people do see the beauty in you, and they're there to forgive you so that you can forgive yourself. I don't think I would have said anything so beautiful, and I don't know where it came from, but it's me and Kevin, of course, at Positive Talk Radio. And please, Dr. Adam, take these last few seconds to leave us with a message for today.
No matter what you've been through, no matter what has happened to you, you deserve to live the life of your dreams and deserve to thrive. Period.
Beautifully said. Thanks, everybody, and join us back in for another amazing show.
Thank you.
Thank you for being part of Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald, where stories inspire and voices remind us of what truly matters. May today's conversation give you hope, courage, and a reason to keep moving forward. And just remember, till next time, be kind to one another, because each other's all we've got.